And we are live. What is going on, legend? But welcome back to Beyond the 90. Leicester or Kinnagersby Hall 2, Crystal Palace 1. I mean, we'll get into some of the business. But first of all, we've got Alex back. Alex is finally back after such a long time. Alex, how are you? How's the match? What do you think? Let us know.
Well, I know it's been a while, but I'm back finally, which is great. It's been a little bit crazy over here in Canada for me, but that's besides the point. The match was great. I finally actually was able to sit down and watch a match. I feel like for the first time in like 2, 3 weeks, like actually sit down when the match actually took place and watch it and not be spoiled because like the last few weeks have been like spoiled in the sense of like I've been at work and all of a sudden I get notifications. I'm like, oh, we won, which is great. But now I
Yeah.
go home and I'm like, I know what's going to happen. Like, it's really hard to avoid spoilers. But no, today it was fun to watch today. Like, it was the best performance from us. Probably
Mm.
not. Like, there's definitely a lot of hiccups that need to be corrected. But overall, 3 points is 3 points. We're kind of in that weird spot also in the table and the amount of games we've played, where if we get on a good run of form, you don't know where we're going to finish off. And I think that's another thing that I've kind of looked at watching this match. But I need to say, KDH, what a
Go
player.
ahead. Go ahead.
What a player. That's that's all I have to say. He's just one hell of a player.
I mean, we've been to, last time I said just even against PSV, I said to him, look, I know I keep talking about him, but I can't underestimate how good he is. Today he turned it up another level, and again he was brilliant. But he had this. It's just one of the comments I didn't expect to see. But yeah, cheers, Leicester, Chester for coming in. But yeah, in terms of that, I mean, he was just phenomenal. I mean, the way he was moving, and we know he's got good work rate, but for some reason, everything just seemed to click for him this match, and it's all he's leading. He's leading the line without being a captain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's very interesting to watch him because he really just takes control and he dictates play.
Mm-hmm.
And for the player to do that at such a young age is one thing. And you can tell that a lot of the players around him just follow his lead. That's another thing
Mm-hmm.
that's absolutely incredible to see at his age. And you see the likes of the players that he's playing with. Yuri is one. You see that back line. You see, who we have as strikers or wingers, and it's just fantastic to see because if you have a player at the caliber that KDH is playing at, that's only going to continue to improve more and more. And like we've both said, that's captain quality and like a mentality from a captain who's not even a captain. He's just a leader on the pitch. And I think that's one thing that Leicester seem to have lacked sometime throughout this year. Because if this was the squad that kind of showed up at the start of the season, I feel like we'd be having different conversations, especially if you have KDH like this. And I'm not going to, he's been fantastic the entire season. I think that's like the standout player of the year for me.
Yeah, and it's quite again. It's a little bit of lag. I apologize. My internet's not that great at the moment. The issue, the thing at the moment is he's just dominating everything. And in terms of you're looking at the likes of the best in his position in England, with the likes of Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips, Conor Gallagher, a great player that's been called up for England, and then he just embarrassed him. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize he was playing. He had to be substitution, substituted because he was that good. I mean, all over the pitch. I mean, there's so many points. Him pressing from the front. The amount of times I saw him just right up there with Pat Sandaka, just pressing and trying to hurry and get the ball in, then doing the hard, dirty defensive work. But the first thing I want to bring it in onto is the assist he got for Lookman's goal. The way he took it out of his feet. I mean, you'd expect that from Lookman. I just didn't expect KDH to have that in his locker as well.
Yeah, you're spot on with that because I think most of the times you see something like that occur and you go, well, that's more of like a winger's, that's something that a winger might have or a striker.
Hmm.
You look like the fact that KDH has that in his repertoire is just absolutely like mind blowing. Like the fact that he also has that, in his bag of goodies is insane. So the fact that he was able to do that kind of a play and pass it over to Lookman, that was one. let's be serious, like that Lookman goal was quite good as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like the conversation is really going to start picking up now because we're nearing the end of the season. Are we going to sign Lookman permanently? If Lookman continues to perform like he was today, I think why not? Like
Yeah.
realistically, it needs to happen because we could keep looking for wingers, throughout the summer. But what's it going to hurt if you have Lookman, Barnes, and say you pick up another winger in the summer?
Hmm.
Competition, healthy competition, having three players, got no complaints. Sign them up.
Yeah, and especially since Lookman can play as a striker as well. If in case there's a striker emergency, he's used to playing as a forward. He doesn't play on the left, on the right as much, but we've got the option there if we really need to. He, for me, he's brilliant. And what's again, it's not just the creativity. The amount of times I've seen him backtrack, win the ball, but also to get the ball, get the ball off the opposition, 1-2 touch past them, and then pass it back. I think is really impressive from him as well. I can't remember doing it this much in this game, but when he's called upon, his work rate off the ball is fantastic, and it's something that I think Brendan Rodgers really enjoys.
Yeah, I think having that ability and that drive to not only succeed in the attacking front, but also doing your due diligence to, get back and do your job in the defensive zone is
Mhm.
pivotal. Because I
Yeah.
think you look at the players that we've had of the past or that just are more attacking centric rather than, being an all around, player. And I think that's
Mhm.
one thing that really benefits because if you look at like Under was only an attacking player. Perez, yeah, he came back. He comes back on the occasion, but he's not the same. I think
Mhm.
those are just key elements that make this type of a player, such a needed piece to the puzzle.
Mhm.
Because if you have an all round player, like that's something that a lot of clubs are going to look for.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think one thing as well, Iheanacho is playing quite well and he's playing decently at the moment. He is making some mistakes, but his work rate, I think Nacho and Lookman could complement each other quite well in the front two if needs be as well. So it's just another option that we've got. Do you see what I mean? So we play Nacho on the right and then Lookman on the left. I know we didn't play it today, but there's an option there that I think we could really implement as well. So with the formation change, with the people that we've got, we can use Lookman in a variety of roles.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that is really beneficial is, like you said, having those options up front and on the side, on the wing, and having those relationships and those, and that chemistry bond. Like, if you have a Nacho and Lookman pairing that works well together, that's one. You have the Vardy and Barnes that can work
Mm,
really well, or like Vardy and Madison that works really well. And then, you have Daka, who, for me, I'm still trying to figure out who works well with him because there's times that you see glimpses of chemistry between Lookman and him or Madison and him or Barnes and him, but I feel like we're still kind of dabbling in in the research on who works well with Daka. But like you said, if we can really create those types of chemistries between players, then that's just excellent because say someone's not fit, you throw out this extra pairing that works really well together and it changes up the dynamics of the entire squad and it really challenges the club that you're facing because they're like, okay, this is a new pairing that we're not used to, and I think that just kind of adds the challenge for clubs moving forward.
hmm Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. And I think one thing as well with that I don't think Daka got the assist. I think it was Madison that got the assist. However, he was the work off the ball, the trying to run forward. Again, I don't think he is a little bit low on confidence, and I think this was a road. I think just coming back to that, and obviously some of the players that came in, we changed the entire back four, we changed the CDM, we changed the striker, and we changed the left winger, and we still came away with 3 points. That's massive. I
Yeah.
was going into this game going, if we can get a draw, if we lose, because Crystal Palace are on fire at the moment. They just put 3 past Arsenal, and we struggled to put any past Arsenal. And we, do you see what I mean? So we're in that position, but the back four and how they're playing, even they, again, it wasn't perfect. They were playing, I think, compared to what we've seen a lot of this season, they just looked competent. And I know that's the minimum that you can ask for, but because we've not seen it for such a long time. I mean, Suyunchu was genuinely, it was decent at long periods of the game, playing balls out from the back, winning headers. I've not seen us with headers. Close down the ball. When Amate lost it one time, Söyüncü cleared up for him. Söyüncü had a really good game in my opinion as well.
Yeah, it's funny to say because I feel like it's been such a weird season. There's been glimmers of hope throughout the season, but for most of the season, it's been very lackluster to say the least. We've had moments of like, oh, this is what this club can do, and then it kind
Liverpool
of
at home.
disappears again. But I feel like today we kind of saw areas that really, showcased some of the skill that we have. Like I said, it wasn't a magnificent performance. Like we got 3 points. We faced off against a club that has been doing relatively well over the past, few weeks. So like that's huge. But I think the way I kind of look at it now is that if we can finish this season off on a relatively good run, I'll take it because, I think if we can get that good run going into the off season, that really changes things. And I think that's
Yeah.
just going to establish a more of a hunger and a drive. Like, we have 3 games in hand over Wolves, and like that's massive. If we we've lost 1 in our last 5. Like there's a lot of positive here.
And
Man
look at the
Man
form of
United's
something
been
like yeah.
horrible. Um,
That was Everton
you
they
know,
lost against as well.
I
West
know.
Ham, they're going to be concentrating. They're the same amount of points, a game more, but they're going to be concentrating on probably the Europa
Yep.
League, which I don't get at all. Arsenal have just lost 3 of their best players, three main players as well. So I'm not saying we're going to try and go for 5th. Let's be real, but we've got 3 games in hand, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. There's a very, I think me and Alex are in the same position where it can be very slight, but we're looking up. It wasn't that long ago where we were looking down and we were going, when's the relegation zone going to begin? Because we were going to be drawn into that battle for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's such a nice positive outlook to have because I know we've had conversations in the past, in and around Christmas time where it was just negative. It was like, we've lost this game, we've lost this game, we've lost this game, we pulled out a draw here, we should have won 3 of these last 4 games and we didn't. And now it's, the way I look at it now is, you look at the games that we've played, and the points that we've really scraped and won, and I go, you know what? We've been mid-table all season. If
Hmm.
we get a good run of form, you don't know what's going to happen. Like
Hmm.
ultimately, we've seen clubs at the top fall out and hit rough times. In the last couple of weeks of the season, Leicester over the last 2 seasons. So you don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. An interesting run of form can change a table drastically. If you
Hmm.
look at Everton are people thought oh they'll finish mid-table this year. It's been rough. They're facing relegation. Burnley could somehow avoid relegation. We don't know what's going to happen. Like
And they just lost to Norwich out of nowhere.
so it's a funny time. I always feel like after watching when you the last few I would say the last like 10 games are like the most random weeks because you don't know what you're going to get. If
Yeah.
you had, Everton beating Man United 1-0 this weekend, I would tell you you'd be crazy. But
Yeah.
that happened. So, it's crazy. Anything could really happen, I think.
And considering the one thing as well is that we're going deep into a competition, we're rotating and we're winning. This is going to do wonders for the squad, and it's where I think KDH mentioned it in the interview. And this is the advantage of doing this not directly after the game. I could listen to what Brendan Rodgers says and KDH says, and when he was saying that we want to be in Europe, it shows that we've got the squad to compete in Europe. We're seeing with people like Arsenal that you lose a few players and then the team starts to really dwindle off. We don't have that problem as much now. Players are coming back. Again, another player that kind of caught my attention as well in the back line. Obviously, Marte, steady Eddie, he didn't do amazing. He did what he's needed to do. But Justin, especially in the second half, because we don't have that right person on that right hand side, he was getting really far up and probably directed by the manager as well, and filling in that role. He lost the ball a couple of times, but I really enjoyed his position and then getting forward and being able to get the ball in as well.
Yeah, no, that's one thing that I've really enjoyed. I think with him. And I feel like I want to just kind of backtrack to what you said. Like, with Arsenal, they lose a few players, and all of a sudden, they're free falling. Whereas Leicester, has depth. I think that's one way to put it. We lose. Vardy's been injured, but we have Nacho and we have Daka, which is great. And Didi's out for the season. We got KDH there. We got Mendy. We got Sumare, who's been 50-50. But you have
How you put it on
reliable
the
players that
bench?
can fill the void. And like
Mhm,
that's the one key thing is that it's not like you're, if you lose three players, you're not like, okay, I guess we're grabbing a player from the youth squad because we're out
mm,
of players and we don't have anybody that can fill our need here. And I think that's the difference. And I think that's one key area that we really benefit on. And I think that's
mhm.
gonna help us out through the rest of the season. But I really think that that's gonna help really push to with the possibility of bringing in some players in the off season. I really do think that.
Yeah, and there's going to be a bit of a change again. We'll probably get Rob Tanner back on and talk about this and the change that's going to happen. There's been rumors and all sorts about it as well. So it's going to be an interesting summer. It won't be hit the ground running, but we're going to get players in decent positions. But again, we've got that squad that we can rotate. And again, considering, I think we'll look at this as well. I'll bring up the LCFC, the fixtures as well. But from what you can remember, Alex, the fixtures aren't too bad. Like I think the last season that we ended on what Chelsea, or we had Chelsea
Man
twice,
United.
but
We
then
had Man
Man,
United.
Man United and
Yeah.
Tottenham. So we've got an
I think we
easier
have
run
Man
in this
City in there
time.
too.
Did we?
I can't
I
remember.
can't remember.
There's been so
No,
many
I can't remember
matches.
either. I'm just gonna get up. I'm just trying to get other fixtures as well. Let's just get it up. But yeah, so there's things that we're building in the right direction again. PSV, well, get rid of PSV, but if you look after, as in because that's not in the competition, but Newcastle, Everton at home, Aston Villa, so Everton away, Aston Villa at home, Spurs again, Everton, Norwich, Watford, Chelsea, Southampton. The running is kind. The running isn't. We've played a lot of the big teams. The only obviously big team at the moment probably be Chelsea, Spurs. Anything can happen with that one as well. So we are in a position now where we can go deep into. And I feel like if the injuries sustain, we can go deep into hopefully both competitions actually survive in a good way. Because I didn't feel that before, and I think it's been a combination of the players coming back, and we're actually developing the team. I mean, for example, players that weren't included today, Perez wasn't included. Evans, which I'm quite glad, I was like, give him time. We know the priority for him. It wasn't even on the bench, just rest him up. And then like Perez as well. So I think somebody else put Perez is gone in the summer. Oh, Jose Perez was ill. Fair enough. I didn't know that. So okay, it's fair enough. He's ill, but we're getting to a point, I think, where we're in a decent position, and we've got a squad now, and I've got a mentality of like we can compete on multiple fronts, and like we've done it before, but this feels different this time because it feels like we've got like the fact you take the whole back line out, put a new one in, and then just go and win a game. I think for me that's massive.
Yeah, and I think going back again just to look at the remaining fixtures that we have, I would say
Let's go.
every game looks like it's winnable. With Spurs being that one wild card where either or could happen,
Maybe
and
Chelsea.
Chelsea, you don't know what we. It's weird to say, but like Everton's, if Everton continue on the form that they're at, I feel like those are easily at least a draw, but I feel like you could easily snag points off of them. Norwich,
Hmm.
I don't think there's any issue there. Watford, no issue there. And Southampton,
Hmm.
Southampton for me has always been that wild card. I know that
Hmm.
in the past we've beat them, but there's always those times where you expect you expect a win and you kind of draw it out with them.
Yeah.
But there's points here.
Hmm.
It's not like you could Newcastle. You know, I would definitely say that we could definitely win that one.
Hmm.
With no questions asked. Newcastle have faced a lot of injuries. I think them losing Trippier for the rest of the season definitely hurt them.
Hmm.
Um, But I think that's a win. Everton's another one that I think could happen. Villa, I have question marks around Villa. I feel like that one would be a good match, and same with Spurs. Those two are both my wild cards. But most
Yes.
of the rest are should be or can be wins. And that would
Yeah.
push us more and more points up. If that's the case, you don't know where we're going to finish at the end of the season.
I've just looked as well. Villa. I'm just looking at the form table as well. I'll bring that up so everybody else can have a look. Villa have lost 4 on the bounce. I didn't
Yeah,
realize this until just now. Villa 31, 36, win, loss, 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 loss.
yeah,
They're on a bit of a bad run at the moment. I think they've so. I'm not saying it's terrible. And look, Gerard is a manager that is young still. There's been a lot of hype when he's getting stuff right, but there needs to be at the same time it's a process when he's getting stuff wrong. But
yeah,
again, anything can happen in that game as well. They've got some young, great talent, but they're on a rebuild.
exactly. So yeah, I think you kind of look at it. And you can finish anywhere in this table, and that's the thing. I think you
Yeah,
can look up.
somebody's
If we're
promoting
ninth
us.
now, yeah, I definitely think that there's anything that can happen right now. I couldn't give
Mhm.
you an actual place as to where I think we could finish, but if Man United continue the form they're on, like they could be an issue. If
They're on
Arsenal
free
is
fall.
and if Arsenal are dealing with injuries and they don't know how to play without those players, then that's another club
Mhm.
you can look at being like, it's gonna be interesting. If Vardy comes back fully, feeling better, looking better, that's another piece that you can add. Madison's been fantastic this season. There's a
Mhm.
lot of possibilities, and there's a lot of players that have played quite well. And they're coming into good form. If KDH continues the run that he's been on, like he has been
I
all
mean, he never got
season,
off the
then
run. He just
I
went
know that's
from
what I mean.
good
Like,
to great to
oh,
wow.
I know. He's gone from he's gonna probably be on the bench to this guy's undroppable. You cannot drop him.
Yeah.
Like
Number 1 on the
like
team sheet, I'd say.
like if
Yeah.
you told me if you
Him,
told me
Michael.
yeah. But if you told me like 6 or 8 months ago that, KDH would be you'd rather have KDH over Yuri at this point, I tell you, you'd be 8 months ago, I'd be like, "Nah." Like, KDH is great, he's a bench player, he'll prove his worth. Now I'm like, "No, KDH, no questions asked." And that's wild.
Yeah. And we thought he's one for the future. He's proven it already. It was supposed to be Samore that was supposed to be one for the future, like the one that was going to come in right away. KDH has absolutely smashed it. And again, we're not even doing the end of rewards season, and it feels like we've already got this one pretty much wrapped up. And he's only played
Yeah.
half a season. Let's be honest. He's only played half a season.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. And if
Yeah,
he keeps
and
playing the way that he's playing, you know, there doesn't need to be a vote. It's just like, "Here, congratulations,
yeah,
you
here you
win."
go.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just like, and the nominations are 3 times the same person because again, there's not many players that have kept up the consistency, and that's what you need. And speaking of consistency, we did go quiet in the second half. Let's be honest, but
mm,
you can expect a little bit with some of them players that are just not quite hitting on that top level, which is okay. But what I was really impressed with is, especially in the first half, that intensity, the pressing, the no, we're not going to give them any time. Considering that Anderson got 2 assists, I think, against Arsenal, we didn't let them have any time on the ball. Running into them again, Daka was there, KDH was there, Lookman, everybody was pressing, but it was all in order. Everybody was doing it at the same time, and it was just they didn't know how to cope with it. At times, they just were just overwhelmed, and we ended up getting a couple of goals for that. I think the first 30 or 40 minutes until we got the first goal, it was quite similar to the PSV game, but the most important thing is the ball went in the back of the net, and that's what you need in football. The ball to go in the back of the net, and that's what was good.
yeah. The first 40 minutes were really great today. I really enjoyed it. I got a little nervous in the second half. Not gonna lie.
Mm,
I
finished
have
around
to give
80
credit.
minutes for me.
Yeah, I have to give credit to Casper. Stops the first penalty, has to redo the penalty, saves the second, and then Zaha just all he has to do is head the ball in. But I have to
Mhm,
say that watching Zaha celebrate like he just scored the title clinching goal,
mhm.
even though it took him 3 attempts to finally score on Schmeichel, was probably the funniest thing. Um,
Yeah,
but it was
that's
you know I think at the end of the day, they figured it out. Was it a
Yeah,
little nervy at the end? Absolutely, but they still managed to figure it out, and they still
yeah.
managed to pull the 3 points off. And I feel like we can talk about if we want to pick apart the negatives and whatnot, we can. But at the end of the day, we still pulled out those 3 points, and I feel like,
And yeah,
and
we've
I
been
was going to
missing
say
that
just
all season for so long. We've been missing just the points on the board.
exactly, and I think that's one of the key things is that one thing that I saw even on Twitter today was that like I said something being like, oh, you know what, like was it the best game? No, but we won three. We got the 3 points, and someone's just like, well, this player was awful, and I'm like, yes, there are definitely players that did not have good games today, but we still put out the 3 points, and other weeks we've talked about the fact being like, well, we lost, we should have won. Yeah, this player
Mm.
sucked, but let's just enjoy the fact we won. We got 3 points.
Yeah,
Those
and
are
I don't
key.
think there's any player that really sucked today. They maybe sucked in parts. For
No,
example, Luke Thomas was having the Jordan Ayew was having him on toast for a lot of that first half. Credit to him as a young player to go, do you know what? Send me back out there. I'm going to prove my worth in the second half. He could have been dragged because no, I'm going to prove myself. And that's what's really impressive for me. He's coming in and he goes, right, give me the time. Bearing in mind, he's not played that much because he's been filling in because James Justin, Castagna, they've all been ahead of him. And he's coming to this game, and Ayew was just giving the run around, and he's got the opportunity and goes, right, give me in, and I'm good. So he didn't have had a bit of a pour. He was getting overran, and he sorted it out in the second half. Got a bit of a tactical advice from Brendan Rodgers, and things just started moving in the right direction. And that's the things though. Like people are awful today. I genuinely don't think any of the players were awful. I mean, people are mentioning Mendy as well, not for being awful. He was underrated in my opinion. Mendy has he's not as good as Wilfred Ndidi. There's not many players in the world that genuinely are. But he came in, he did what he needed to do, and he performed, and well done to him. I mean, people are somebody who's got the Cup of Nations was so good for Mendy, yeah, and maybe it was the minutes that he deserved because he's come back, not a different player. He's just come back to that steady. Leave it with me. I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to play in three games time, but I'm going to play in this one. I'm going to have a go, and I'm going to smash it.
yeah, and I think it's one thing with Mendy is that yeah, in the past, like last season, he had a couple stinkers, but like overall, like when Ndidi was injured at the start of the season, what was it last year? Was it? He came in and he ran that midfield. Like Mendy was like that one reliable player with Yuri, and it was like this is great, trust it. I had no issue with it. Secondly, Thomas. I don't know about you, but that little when he got I think he got a yellow for it, but when he chipped with the foul, and he just kept on jogging. And I think it was it Age
And he
came
got
back to him and
pushed.
started getting all frustrated with him, and you could just see
Mhm.
Thomas being like, "Man, like yeah, I know I got a yellow. It was fun, whatever." Like you could tell on his face, he was like, "Yeah, I ticked you off. I know I did." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Good on you! Like 20 years old, just being a pest, and that's just fantastic to see. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that one."
Yeah, he's just like, I've had Salah in my back pocket. Why do I need you? What's this? What's this compared to you? So yeah, no, I could definitely see that as well. Um, I think he worked. Yeah, in terms of that, it was anybody else. Tillemans, it was a weird one for Tillemans, isn't it? It's like he's still a quality player, but I think he's just been overshone by KDH, and he just can't keep up. He was obviously responsible for the penalty. He made some good passing, but I think what it is, he had a 5 out of 10 game, let's say. But we've seen him put nines and tens game after game after game after game.
Yeah,
So when he has a 5 out of 10, and he's had them for a couple of games in a row now, you really notice it, especially with KDH just literally taking off to the moon in terms of
yeah,
his performances.
yeah. Yuri's performance today, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It was
Mm,
bang average. And
mm.
I hope that's how he plays when he plays Canada in the World Cup. Like that's honestly how I hope he plays. Like the way he played today is how I hope that happens because it was nothing fantastic, and that's I need that. But
We've not,
honestly,
yeah,
like I hope you hope he gets that turnaround because if you have like a KDH Yuri pairing where like they're just like or they come in together and they play or whatever and they're both having like nines, then you're like midfield solved. But uh it is what it is. I feel like you're always going to have players that are a little rough. They're not going
mhm.
to have the best, and that's that's spot on. I said that actually mid-match. I was just like, KDH is going to be a future captain. Like
Yeah.
it's going to happen. Um, like it's just I think he's going to bide his time, but it's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than people think. I think.
Yeah. And I think it's just going to be experience and just time in the team. And he's not getting any time. The only way he's getting out of the team is if he gets an injury. There's
Yeah.
no way he's getting pulled out of that team. I'm aware that, again, he runs so much that if we're playing him 2 games a week, we might have to just go, look, man, we're going to have to just take you out for a bit, even though he loves playing, because we've seen it happen to James Justin. We've seen it happen to Harvey Barnes. We've seen it happen to Soyuncu, where we've had to play him every single game, and then twang, something goes. I just don't want that to happen to KDH, especially in the form he's on. Just resting for a game. Again, leave this. I'll let the science, but I think definitely. But yeah, potential captain, potential England. He should be looked at. But this is Gareth Southgate. This is England. I should say more likely. Nothing is certain. They have their favourites. Rice will start. Mount will start. That's just the way that England is. Even though you'd put KDH up there, so I'm not a big fan of England. Speaking of also something you mentioned about Canada. Oh, sorry, I don't know if my internet's just lagging out as well. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can still hear you. You're just a little
Okay.
laggy, but I can hear you.
Okay, that's fine. But what I've heard from speaking to some, because I went to Belgium a couple of weeks back as well, and speaking to a couple of Belgians about their national team, and they kind of feel very similarly that they've got the players there, but when they've got all the players and they're a great, great, great team, but they can't hit them levels that we know they can. It's very similar to England, and they're saying the same about Yuri Tillemans, which is really surprising. That he seems to work in a position where he's a big fish in a small pond rather than he's one of the big hitters. And this is something that I thought was interesting. I'm not saying that because it is not looking like it's going to go, but for Canada that'll be something to look out for as well. Because I'd have to be watching that and seeing, because he's putting a performance. I think he was questioned about being lackluster. I think in one of the friendlies as well. So something he could do.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting. I think because I feel like with Yuri especially, because I feel like we've seen what he can do, and I just feel like that hasn't been here this year. Don't know if that's the whole contract situation. Like I don't know if that's been a part of it, or I just don't know. Or maybe like you mentioned, KDH is just taken over in that sense. So it's kind of funny to see, and it's very interesting to hear that from a Belgian perspective as well. That's the national squad talking about that. And so it's very interesting. So positive news for my Canadians. I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird. I hope he finds his form for the rest of the season. That'd be nice. I just hope he loses it for the Olympics. But wow, the World Cup. I'm tired.
No worries.
But that'd be my biggest hope. But it is what it is. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, and I'll manage to figure out this internet because it is all over the place. If you watch the preview for the for what's it called for this game with Ali, we took about 2 hours recording to have to clip that up, and it was awful. Like I've got to get it sorted. I've showed this passage, but it will get sorted hopefully in soon. Alex, before we finish, anything else we want to touch on so far? Because that's kind of all the notes I've got. Apart because we're in it. I'm happy we got the win. 3 points puts in a good position as well.
Yeah, happy with the win. 3 points is massive. We're still 3 games in hand. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I think that's just something that we need to look at and look at it in a positive light. This isn't something that we were looking at really a few months ago, and the fact that the opportunity is now here for that is extremely exciting to even consider. If we can pull out a couple of solid performances, in the next few weeks, you don't know where we're going to be in the table. We could be right with Wolves. We don't know.
Yeah, we genuinely don't know, but we're looking up. We're in a good position. Players are coming back from injury, and they're only going to get stronger and stronger. We got a nice summer to hopefully rest them as well. Ethan, just to let you know before we go, I am on Virgin Media, and it stinks. Yeah, I don't know what this is. I've got a plug that hopefully will sort this out soon. But yes, hopefully we'll get into I'll get that sorted on the next one. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe. Make sure to follow Alex over at Canadian Foxes. He'll be on hopefully more regularly. We'll try and get a few more panelists together. Apart from that, we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.